Do you ever wonder, how can I get myself out there more to build an audience to buy my book? Or how can I do it all to build an audience when it's just me to do it? This week, we're continuing our Grow by Guesting summer series of short and sweet episodes to help you grow an audience of book buyers by guesting on podcasts long before and long after you have a book in hand. And today we're going to talk about how you can collaborate with other writers and authors as a podcast guest even before you write your book. No more going it alone, y'all. It's time to get into community and work together with others to help you grow. So let's get to it. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Book Marketing Mania. I'm Kim, a book marketing strategist for Christian authors, and I'm so thrilled you're here to learn how to grow your author platform, market your book on podcast, and steward your message in a way that honors God and your time. So if you're feeling the heat to grow an audience to buy your book, look no further than collaborations. I say it time and again here, but marketing your message to attract readers is simply letting them know you can help them. And what better way to do that than to collaborate with others who believe in your message and have an audience themselves that your message will benefit? I've been blown away by the feedback from my clients who guest on podcasts and say the return on their relationships with the podcast host far exceed the return on book sales. And guesting on podcast allows you and the host to collaborate and deliver incredible value for listeners throughout a 30 to 40 minute interview. And you've not only built know, like, and trust with the listeners who are your target readers, but you also build it with the host, and so many opportunities can come out of this one collaboration. I know that one of my early opportunities to guest on a podcast turned into a 1-year contract with the host to work with her agency to pitch her entrepreneurial clients to guest on podcast. And another client of mine was invited to speak at a host online summit after guesting on her podcast. And another client formed a peer-led mastermind with a few podcast hosts after guesting on each other's shows. And after a podcast host heard me guesting on a podcast last year, she reached out to me to be a guest speaker at her online conference. And if you've heard episode 67 with podcast host and author Rebecca George, she talked about the relationship she's built with her podcast guest, and some of them even endorsed her book and vice versa. So after an interview with you as a guest, you not only have a relationship that could turn into future collaborations, but you've also earned a referral from the host to other podcast hosts if you show up and serve well. And you can gain speaking experience like we talked about in episode 81, grow your email list like we talked about in episode 82, and if you're a host yourself, guesting on podcasts can help you grow your own show like we talked about in episode 83. And the best part, y'all, you'll build amazing relationships to help you grow your audience of book buyers. And if you've already launched your book, tune into episode 42, where I share 7 ways to market your book with collaborations. So are you wondering, where can I meet other authors and writers who are also podcast hosts to collaborate with as a guest? Well, I have 2 free communities to tell you about. The first one is the Spark Media Christian Podcasters Group, led by Misty Phillip. She is the host of the By His Grace podcast. And also the Christian Podcasters Association Facebook group, led by Eric Nevins. And he is the host of the Christian Podcasters podcast, as well as the Halfway There podcast. And you don't have to be a podcast host to join either one of these free Facebook groups. Both groups offer monthly opportunities to share if you're wanting to be a guest, or for podcasters, you can share that you're looking for a specific guest. And if you haven't listened to episode 44 yet, I would definitely tune in to learn ways you can build relationships with podcasters before you start pitching to be their guest. And there's also, other writing communities with paid memberships that also have a lot of podcast hosts in them you can network with. And we're going to talk a little bit more about writing communities this fall, but I want to at least mention a few of them here. There's Called Creatives, which is for writers, speakers, podcasters, and entrepreneurs. And it's led by Lisa Whittle and Allie Worthington. Oh, it's such a great membership, y'all. I can't wait to tell you more about it this fall. And then there's the Christian Book Academy, hosted by my friend Shelley and her husband, CJ Hitz. Y'all have heard Shelley on the show recently. And then there's the Hope Writers and Hope Podcasters memberships that are led by Brian Dixon. And Compel Training membership, which is a part of Proverbs 31 Ministries. And I was one of their original members, and it was such an incredible time to learn all about writing. So if you have any questions about any of those, let me know. And again, we're going to dive into those more in the fall. But if you have some burning questions in the meantime about building relationships and collaborating with podcasters, be sure and book a call. I would love to just jump on a quick call with you this summer and strategize how we can get you moving forward in relationship building and guesting on podcast. And I'll put a link here in the podcast player so that you can grab a call at your convenience. And I can't wait to help you beat the heat this summer to grow your audience of book buyers. And that's all for today, y'all. I'm keeping it short and sweet here. I'll be there for you next week to help you market your book one podcast at a time. See you then.